In 1958, a cooperative extension office in Holmes County, Ohio, published a 40-page booklet called Practical Homestead Transition, a guide for rural families. It outlined, step by step, how a family of 4 could disengage from municipal utilities, establish a functioning food and water supply, and achieve basic energy independence in under 30 days. The booklet was printed twice. Then the Extension Office received a visit from a regional utility consortium, and it was never printed again. The information wasn't wrong. It was just no longer convenient for the people selling you electricity at a monthly rate. The system that replaced the skill. At some point in the last 70 years, going off-grid became a luxury. It became something you do after you've saved enough, after you've purchased the right solar panels, the right battery bank, the right rainwater filtration system, the right composting toilet from the right specialty retailer. The industry that grew up around self-sufficiency now charges more for independence than most people spend on a used car. The average American household spends between $4,200 and $6,500 getting a basic off-grid solar system installed, and that's before water, food storage, or shelter modifications. Add a professionally installed rainwater collection system and a propane backup, and you're looking at $35,000 to $80,000 before you've grown a single carrot. Meanwhile, in Sugarcreek, Ohio, Amos Troyer moved his family of 6 completely off-grid in 19 days. His total expenditure? $21,400. He didn't buy a single solar panel. The $22,000 breakdown nobody talks about. The reason Amos's number sounds impossible is because we've been taught to price self-sufficiency using the modern industry's catalog. The Amish don't price it that way. They price it by function. What does a thing need to do, and what is the cheapest, reliable way to make it do that? When you strip away the marketing, an off-grid homestead needs to accomplish exactly 5 things. Provide shelter that retains heat, produce or store food through winter, supply clean water without a municipal line, generate enough light and working energy for daily tasks, and handle waste without a sewer connection. Every dollar Amos spent maps to one of those 5 categories, nothing else. The first week, shelter. The single largest cost in most off-grid transitions isn't energy, it's heat loss. A poorly insulated structure will defeat every other system you put in place, because you'll spend every resource you generate trying to compensate for what escapes through your walls. Ruth Bontrager of Wayne County puts it plainly. You don't heat a house, you insulate it once, and then it heats itself. The forgotten method here is not a secret technology, it's a forgotten priority. Before the Troyer family bought a single appliance, they spent 4 days and $1,800 on a combination of dense pack cellulose insulation and spray foam sealing every penetration point in the structure. Cellulose runs roughly 60 cents per square foot installed when sourced from regional suppliers rather than big box retailers. It achieves an R value of 3.7 per inch, comparable to fiberglass bat at a fraction of the cost, and it uses recycled material that was being hauled away as waste in 1887 just as readily as it is today. The beginner mistake here is sequencing. Most people tackle energy first because solar panels feel like the visible symbol of going off-grid. Amos did insulation first, and by doing so, he reduced the energy load his home required by nearly 40%. Which in turn reduced how much energy infrastructure he needed to buy at all. Week 1 total, approximately $1,800 to $2,400 depending on structure size. The wood heat equation. Most people who grew up outside a farming community think of a wood stove as a backup, a romantic amenity for a cold evening. The Amish think of it as infrastructure, the same way they think of a well or a roof. And the distinction matters enormously when you're trying to build a functional off-grid heating system on a real budget. A quality cast iron wood stove, properly sized for a well-insulated 1,200 square foot home, costs between $600 and $1,100 on the second-hand market. The same unit from a hearth retailer, new, runs $2,400 to $4,800 before installation. The stove itself hasn't changed. The marketing around it has. Levi Hirschberger of Tuscarawas County heats a 1,400 square foot home through an Ohio winter on 4 cords of wood. He cuts it himself from 8 acres of mixed hardwood, but even purchased from a local supplier, 4 cords of seasoned oak runs $800 to $1,100 in most rural markets. His annual heating cost, including stove maintenance, has not exceeded $900 in 11 years of records he keeps in a small ledger above the kitchen door. The science behind wood heat's efficiency advantage over forced air is straightforward. Radiant heat warms objects and bodies directly, rather than heating air that then loses temperature the moment it contacts a cold surface or exterior wall. A room heated by a wood stove at 62 degrees feels warmer to the body than a forced air room at 70 degrees. This is documented in building science literature going back to 1931 and was standard knowledge in rural construction manuals until the widespread adoption of central heating made it commercially inconvenient to say out loud. The beginner mistake with wood heat is undersizing the flue. A flue that is too narrow for the stove's output creates creosote buildup at a rate that can cause a chimney fire within a single heating season. The correct internal flue diameter for a stove rated under 80,000 BTU is 6 inches minimum. This is not negotiable, and it is the one place in the entire off-grid transition where cutting the budget creates a genuine safety hazard. A properly sized stainless steel liner installed into an existing masonry chimney runs $400 to $700 and lasts 25 years. Wood heat total? $1,400 to $2,000, including stove, liner, and first season of fuel. The water system. In 1923, the USDA's Office of Public Roads and Rural Engineering published detailed specifications for gravity-fed cistern systems capable of supplying a family of 5 with clean drinking water at a cost of $140 in materials. Adjusted for inflation, that is roughly $2,400 today. A modern rainwater harvesting system from a specialty vendor runs $8,000 to $14,000 for a comparable output. The difference is not the water, it's the brand name on the tank and the labor rate on the installation invoice. Jacob Miller, whose family has operated a gravity-fed cistern on their property in Lancaster County since his grandfather dug it in 1961, collects rainwater off a 1,400 square foot metal roof into a 2,500-gallon polyethylene cistern buried 4 feet below the frost line. The water passes through a 2-stage ceramic filter before reaching the kitchen. His total infrastructure cost, replacing components over the years, has never exceeded $3,100. The science is simple. Rainwater is already soft and pre-filtered by the atmosphere. The ceramic filter, the same basic technology used since 200 BC in household water treatment across Asia and the Middle East, removes particulates and biological contamination without electricity and without replacement cartridges that cost $40 apiece. A quality ceramic candle filter costs $28 and lasts, with occasional cleaning, up to 5 years. The beginner mistake is placing the cistern above ground to save excavation cost. An above-ground tank freezes in winter, breeds algae in summer, and requires a pump. Below grade, at consistent soil temperature, the water stays between 45 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit year-round and flows by gravity. The excavation adds $600 to $900 to the project. It saves that amount back within the first winter. Water system total, $2,800 to $3,400. Hand tools, maintenance, and the hidden cost of motorized everything. There is a line item that almost never appears in off-grid budget guides: the cost of maintaining the equipment you use to maintain everything else. A gas-powered tiller requires fuel, spark plugs, oil, air filters, and carburetor service. A chainsaw requires bar oil, chain sharpening, fuel mix, and periodic professional service. A generator, the most common off-grid backup system, requires all of the above plus transfer switch maintenance and an average of $340 per year in fuel just to stay functional as a backup. The Amish solution is not to avoid tools. It is to bias heavily toward tools that can be maintained by hand, with parts that can be sourced from a hardware store by a person with ordinary mechanical aptitude. Sarah Graber of Elkhart County, Indiana, manages a 2-acre market garden and a full food preservation operation using a tool inventory that costs $380 to assemble from estate sales and farm auctions. Her broad fork handles soil aeration where a tiller would otherwise be used. Her hand-crank grain mill processes 50 pounds of flour per hour. Slowly, yes, but without fuel and without a belt that needs replacing every 18 months. Her total tool maintenance expenditure over the last 6 years has averaged $22 per year. A broad fork costs $85 new and lasts a lifetime with basic care. A quality hand-crank grain mill runs $180 to $240 and has a functional lifespan measured in decades. A manual pump for the cistern, the same design used in American farmsteads from the 1870s through the 1940s, costs $140 and requires no electricity, no pressure tank, and no annual service call. The information explaining why this equipment was abandoned has nothing to do with performance. The USDA's own agricultural efficiency studies from 1949 and 1951 documented that hand tools, applied by a skilled operator, matched or exceeded motorized equipment output on plots under 2 acres, with zero fuel cost and near-zero maintenance burden. The studies were accurate. They simply weren't useful to the companies selling motorized equipment to a newly prosperous post-war farm market. Hand tools and manual equipment total, $380 to $600, sourced used. The energy question. This is where most people assume they're about to be told they need $15,000 in solar equipment. They're not. The Amish approach to energy is not to find a renewable replacement for every watt you currently consume. It is to audit which tasks genuinely require electrical energy and which tasks have been electrified purely out of habit. Refrigeration is the clearest example. The average American household spends $1,200 a year running a refrigerator. That's the electricity cost alone, not the purchase price, not the repair bills. A root cellar dug to 6 feet below grade in well-drained soil maintains a temperature of 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit from October through April in most of the continental United States. Eli Schwartz of Holmes County stores enough root vegetables, fermented goods, canned preserves, and cured meats to feed his family through a 7-month winter. His cold storage infrastructure cost $1,100 to construct and has a maintenance cost of effectively zero. Lighting is the second category. A properly sized propane system with quality burners produces light equivalent to 60-watt incandescent bulbs at a cost of roughly $180 per year in fuel, less than the electricity bill for lighting alone in a conventional home. Add a small 400-watt solar array for charging communication devices, running a water pump if gravity feed is insufficient, and powering a small freezer for meat storage, and the electrical infrastructure cost lands at approximately $1,800 to $2,400 installed using second market components. The reason this knowledge disappeared is simple. It couldn't be patented. Root cellars, gravity cisterns, ceramic filters, cellulose insulation, none of these generate ongoing revenue. There is no subscription. There is no proprietary cartridge. There is no certified installer who returns every 3 years. The economic logic of the modern off-grid industry depends on you not knowing these things have ever worked before. Energy and cold storage total, $3,500 to $4,800. Preservation, the year-round food system. The part of off-grid living that gets the least attention in modern guides and the most attention in Amish communities is not how you grow food, it is how you keep it. A harvest that can't be preserved is a harvest that feeds you for 6 weeks and then leaves you entirely dependent on the same supply chains you were trying to escape. The Amish have maintained an unbroken tradition of layered preservation going back to the early 1800s, and the logic behind it is precisely the same logic that a food scientist would apply today. Each method covers a different failure mode, and the overlap between them is what creates true food security. Naomi Byler of Chester County, Pennsylvania, feeds her household of 7 using 4 preservation methods that she rotates by food type and season. Lacto-fermentation handles cabbage, cucumbers, beans, and beets, requiring nothing but salt, a crock, and a cool, dark shelf. Water bath canning covers high-acid fruits, tomatoes, and pickled goods. Pressure canning handles low-acid vegetables, soups, and meat. Dry curing with salt and smoke handles pork, beef, and venison through the full winter and into spring. Her combined infrastructure cost for all 4 methods was $340 in equipment, the majority of it sourced from estate sales, and her annual supply cost for salt, lids, and curing materials runs $47. The shelf life across these categories ranges from 18 months for water bath canned goods to 5 years for properly cured and smoked meats stored in cool conditions. The science behind lacto-fermentation in particular was well understood by 1856, when Louis Pasteur documented the lactic acid bacterial process in detail. The preserved food it produces is not merely shelf-stable. The fermentation process actively increases bioavailability of nutrients and produces beneficial bacteria that pasteurized and shelf-stabilized commercial products cannot replicate. It was the primary preservation method for vegetables in European and American households until refrigeration made it commercially unnecessary to teach. The beginner mistake is treating preservation as one method. Families who rely solely on a chest freezer for food security discover its failure mode the first time a power outage runs past 4 days. Naomi's system has no single point of failure. If the canning lids become unavailable, the salt crock still works. If the smokehouse has a bad season, the pressure canned meat carries the household through. Preservation infrastructure total: $340 to $500. Waste, the category nobody budgets for. Every off-grid guide eventually gets to waste management and either glosses over it in 2 sentences or quotes figures that assume a $3,000 composting toilet system. Neither approach is honest. Human waste management off-grid has 3 practical options: a properly constructed outhouse, a composting toilet, or a constructed wetland system for greywater management. All 3 have been implemented by Amish communities for generations. All 3 cost a fraction of what the modern sanitation industry charges for proprietary equivalents. And all 3 are legal in most rural jurisdictions when constructed to basic setback and depth specifications, typically 100 feet from a water source and a minimum of 4 feet above the water table. Isaac Yoder of Millersburg, Ohio, constructed a 2-vault alternating outhouse in 1987 using $180 in lumber and hardware. The 2-vault system, documented in public health literature as early as 1910, allows 1 vault to compost while the other is in active use, rotating on an 18-month cycle. After 37 years of use by a household of 8, the structure has required $0 in mechanical service. Its only ongoing cost is a bag of agricultural lime every spring at $6. Greywater, the water from sinks, laundry, and bathing, is handled separately and more simply. A basic constructed wetland using gravel, a perforated pipe, and native wetland plantings can process the greywater output of a family of 4 on a footprint of roughly 200 square feet. The system costs $400 to $700 in materials and requires no pumping, no electricity, and no municipal hookup. It was standard rural practice in most of the United States before centralized sewage infrastructure expanded into rural areas after 1945. Waste management total: $600 to $900. food production infrastructure. The final category that most off-grid budgets ignore entirely is the infrastructure required to grow and preserve food. Not the food itself, but the beds, tools, seed stock, and preservation equipment that make the system function across years, not just one growing season. Mary Yoder of Geauga County established a working kitchen garden and preservation operation for a family of 5 on $1,400 in her first year. Her raised beds used salvaged lumber. Her canning equipment was sourced from estate sales at a fraction of retail cost. Her seed stock, purchased from a regional open-pollinated seed house rather than a commercial supplier, cost $60 and has been saved and replanted every year since 1997. The beginner mistake is purchasing convenience. Pre-built raised bed kits at garden centers run $120 to $300 each. The same lumber from a salvage yard or mill-end supplier costs $12 to $18 a bed. The canning setup that costs $340 at a kitchen retailer costs $55 at an estate sale. The principle is the same as every other category. The function hasn't changed. Only the packaging has. Food infrastructure total, $1,400 to $2,200. The community asset nobody prices in. There is one resource in Amish off-grid transitions that does not appear on any budget sheet, but without which the Troyer family's 19-day timeline would have been closer to 4 months. It is the single most suppressed concept in the modern self-sufficiency industry because it cannot be sold and it cannot be franchised. It is labor exchange. When Amos Troyer's family began their transition, 11 members of their church district showed up on the first Saturday with tools, knowledge, and food. The insulation was completed in 2 days instead of 5. The cistern was excavated in 1. The wood stove was installed, flue-lined, and inspected by a man who had done the same job 14 times before. Nobody sent an invoice. This is not an Amish-only phenomenon. It is a pre-industrial American norm that was methodically replaced by the service economy once labor exchange stopped generating taxable transactions. In 1912, the USDA estimated that more than 60% of farm infrastructure improvements in rural communities were accomplished through organized community labor exchange rather than hired contractors. By 1965, that figure had fallen below 8%. The practical implication for anyone attempting a sub-$25,000 off-grid transition is not that you need to join an Amish community. It is that the single most valuable thing you can do before you spend your first dollar is identify 3 or 4 other households attempting the same transition and structure a formal labor exchange. Skills that would cost $80 to $120 an hour from a licensed contractor, electrical rough-in, plumbing, masonry, carpentry, exist in abundance among people who have worked trades and never stopped using those skills. They are simply not organized. The Troyer transition came in under budget, not because the materials were cheap, though they were. It came in under budget because roughly $4,000 in skilled labor was never charged. The full picture. Insulation and air sealing, $2,200. Wood heat, $1,700. Water system, $3,100. Hand tools and manual equipment, $490. Energy and cold storage, $4,200. Preservation infrastructure, $420. Waste management, $750. Food production infrastructure, $1,800. Contingency, structure modifications, and miscellaneous, $3,200. 3-month emergency food supply and propane backup, $2,400. That is $20,260 in a realistic mid-range build. The Troyer family came in at $21,400, slightly higher because they replaced several exterior doors and reframed 2 windows as part of the insulation work. They came in under $22,000 because they did not buy anything they did not need. They sourced everything used that could be sourced used, and they used community labor for every task that community labor could accomplish. The question everyone asks after seeing a number like $22,000 is, where do I start? The answer is the same one Ruth Bontrager gives to anyone who asks. You start where the heat is going. Fix what you're losing before you build what you're gaining. The knowledge to do all of this existed in county extension offices, in Amish community handbooks, in USDA bulletins that were quietly allowed to go out of print, in farm auction lots where the hand tools of 3 generations go for $12 because nobody recognized what they were looking at. It didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it stopped generating revenue for someone. Tell me in the comments, has your family held on to any of this? A root cellar, a hand-dug well, a canning tradition that never stopped. A neighbor who still knows how to line a chimney flue. Some of the most complete working knowledge I've encountered on this channel came from viewers whose grandparents simply never stopped doing things the old way. Those stories don't disappear unless we stop telling them.